Hello.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Well, good evening.
Can y'all guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you, sir. Give it a couple of minutes before we start. Hi, Alder Edwards, Alder Roth, Alder Singh, Alder Carmen, Mr. Don Haiti.
Hello.
I'm going to try to do a little screen thing here and try to do like a dual screen here. I was trying to pull it up on my phone.
You can do it.
You got it? You did it before?
I do it all day. So if I can do it, you can do it. Get it. If you need help, let us know.
I love it. I'm going to try to do this right here. Ooh. Alder DeCola,
Good evening,
how are you?
Chair Wingate. I'm doing quite well.
I'm giving us a couple more minutes while I figure out the dual screen.
Okay.
I might just have to have Don put it up on the screen or Lucas.
Alder DeCole, is that a aerial shot of one of the drawing that the guy does?
You're mute. We can't hear your explanation.
Sorry. That is an aerial shot of New Haven about 1940s. Before I-95, let me get out of the way. You'll see Long Wharf, what it really looked like.
Wow.
That's how New Haven was. The water went right to the train station.
Wow.
That's how much sand they filled in to build I-95 and Long Wharf, where IKEA is and everything.
Yes.
That was water.
Yes. One guy was telling me that there was no sergeant, drive, or anything there.
No, well, now you're looking at it. That's it.
Okay. Thank you for that piece of history.
Oh, you're welcome.
I know it looks a little bit of New Haven, but I couldn't quite place, the demographic of it. But thank you.
Hello, Dawn.
Yes.
Can you put the notice on the screen?
No, I don't think so. I have to ask Al to see if he can do it.
Okay.
I can email it to you very quickly.
Yeah, let's do that. Email it to, I just do it off the phone.
Okay.
How old are Carmen Rodriguez?
Hello, everyone. How is everybody?
Everyone's good.
Good to hear.
Thank you.
I like Alder DeCola talking about Long Wharf. I have a coworker who said even where I live, they used to come swimming as kids. He's much older than you and I, but he I was like, really? He's like, yeah, you're sitting, your house is sitting on water.
Yeah, yeah,
It's something to see that history. We're gonna have to take a walking tour.
yes. Someone was telling me all there, that part was a house on sticks, and the boat used to go right under the water.
Well, when I moved over here, it was great to see. I mean, we have the bridge, but my kids and I would see it had the tunnels. So the story is that the wives used to wait on the sailors. So it's great history. We have great history in New Haven.
Okay. See it there, Brian?
Okay. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, thank you so much. So I think we have a quorum. We can call this meeting to order. The Joint Community Development Tax Abatement Committee of the Board of Alders will meet on Tuesday, October 27th at 6 p.m. to hear and act on the following legislative item via video conference at http://bit.ly/2gk, GX9TY9 for requesting password, contact public testimony, newhavenct.gov, and by telephone at 646-558-8656 and enter web ID 967-3721-7038 and phone voice only passcode 36604396. Order approving the application from Dixwell Housing Associates, LLC, aka partnership between nonprofit developers Beulah Land Trust Corps and Help Develop Corps for tax abatement for the 340 Dixwell Avenue, inclusion of the merger lot of 340 Dixwell Avenue. Oh my God, it jumped off.
Whoever's sharing the screen, we can't see the agenda. It just went over to a new tab.
Okay,
Thanks.
thank you, co-chair.
Yes, sir.
Dixwell Avenue, 316 Dixwell Avenue, and 387-83 Orchard Street. Order of the Board of Alders of the City of New Haven approving the disposal of these parcels of land known as 291 Ashman Street, 309 Ashman Street, and 178, 186 Canal Street, New Haven, to R.J. D.A. Ashman Street, LL, subject to development and land dispose agreement and a tax agreement. It's very small. I can't see. These items are on file available in the office of City Clerk, 200 Orange Street, room 202, New Haven, per Honorable Brian Wingate, Honorable Jose Crespo, co-chair, Honorable Michael B. Smart, City Town Clerk, for disability-related accommodations. Please call 203-946-7833 or 203-946-8582 prior to the meeting. Public comments, testimonies may also be submitted via email to public testimony, newhavenct.gov, before 2 p.m. on the day of the meeting. If you wish to present testimony at the meeting, you must register in advance. https://bit.ly/2gx9ty9 or by calling 203-946-7934 before 2 p.m. or the day of the meeting. Public can view the meeting at http://bit/y2gx9ty9 or listen by phone at 646-558-8656. Webinar ID 967-371-7038 and phone voice only, passcode 36604-396. Thank you for your patience. I will ask the committee, starting from my left, or asking my co-chair to start introducing themselves.
Thank you, Mr. Co-Chair. My name is Alder Jose Crespo, Ward 16, and I will be co-chairing with my colleague, Alder Wingate.
Alder Frank Douglas, Ward 2, member of both committees, Vice Chair of Community Development.
Alder Ortiz, Ward 17, Tax Abatement.
Abby Roth, Ward 7, Tax Abatement.
Campton Singh, Ward 6, Tax Abatement.
Carmen Rodriguez, Ward 6, Community Development.
Kimberly Edwards, Ward 19, both committees.
Alder Sal DiCola, Ward 18, Community Development.
Alder Brian Wingate, Community Development Chair, thank you so much. I see Alders Steve Winter has joined us in the room. We have a couple of things tonight. I will ask for these items. Who's going to speak to these items? Come up and speak now.
Hello.
Yes.
Good evening. Okay, this is my first time with this, so I don't know how it goes. I'm Arlevia Samuel. I'm the acting executive director of LCI, and I'm here to speak on the two matters of Bugle Land Development for 340 Dixwell, 316 Dixwell, and 783. Oops, sorry.
Yep.
And for Bugle Land, for 340 Dixwell, we actually have Jeff Spiritos, who's on the development team, here to speak to their project.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes.
Go ahead, Jeff. Jeff, you're on mute.
So how this works is who comes up to speak to the item has to say their name and address for the record.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Thank you, Alder Wingate. My name is Jeff Spiritos. I represent the Dixwell Housing Associates as applicant for this tax abatement for the 340 plus Dixwell housing project.
Mm-hmm. You have to state your name and address for the record.
My address is 276 Riverside Drive, New York City, New York, 10025.
Thank you.
Shall I continue?
Yes.
Thank you. Beulah Land Development Corp. and led by Daryl Brooks, has assembled a team consisting of Help Development USA and our firm, Spiritos Properties, to develop 69 units of affordable housing at the site we assembled, comprising of 316 Dixwell, 340 Dixwell, and 783 Orchard Street. There will be 2 4-story buildings, one of 57 units, one of 12 units, because the sites, although they are joined together, there will be one out parcel in between. Our project will have 80% affordable housing units, so there will be 55 units of 30, 50, and 60% AMI, and the remaining 20% will be market rate units. The project is unusual in that the structure will be mass timber, which is a type of construction that is rather new, that is stronger than, faster than, more durable than stick frame construction, which is typically used, and allows a healthier, more natural living experience for the occupants of the building, in that the walls and ceiling of the building can be left exposed wood rather than being covered up by sheetrock. In addition, the 2 buildings, the project will be of passive house design with solar panels on the roof in order to reduce utility bills and provide a very environmentally sustainable project. Our goal is to create a new type of affordable housing that will change the way affordable housing is built in America. And we are pleased to be doing this with Beulah Land Development at the 340 plus Dixwell project. As 80% of the units are affordable at 60% AMI or less, we have applied for a tax abatement to help us be able to afford the operating costs of the building. I am not quite sure what else I am supposed to say. If someone would guide me, I would appreciate it.
Good evening,
Hello,
everybody.
Serena.
This is Serena Nielsen, Georgia, 31 Marvel Road, New Haven, Connecticut. I just thank you all for allowing us to appear. I just want to jump in quickly because this is some of the residual work that I've been working on, and working with Clay and Arlevia on the city side to get them before you. The information that Jeff just talked about in terms of the project, Daryl Brooks is also on the call, who is a partner in this development project and can give you any additional information on the numbers of units that you're seeking the abatement on. If you could talk about that, the number of affordable units, Daryl, that's on this request.
It'll be a total of 55 units of the 69 would be affordable. And so as Jeff said, 80% of—
Excuse me, please state your name and address for the record.
I'm sorry.
You should know this already. You're not new.
I apologize, Chairman Wingate. My name is Daryl Brooks. I reside here in the city of New Haven at 170 Stevenson Road. I am the Chief Operating Officer for Viewland Development Corporation. Apologize for that oversight. As Jeff stated, 80% of the units, 80% of the 60 units number specifically will be 55 units, will be affordable at 60% and under of the AMI.
Thank you.
Thanks, Daryl.
Thank you. So at this time, we will be filtering questions from the committee. And just by show of hands, who wants to go first? I will be
Just a point of clarity, Mr. Chair. I was going to ask for the speakers, the presenters, Madam Serena, Mr. Daryl, and Mr. Jeff, that to avoid any acronyms for the sake of some of the committee members who might not know what it means. So they can just tell us exactly what they're referring to, and to avoid any particular acronyms, so that everybody can have an understanding of what's being discussed. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Co-Chair. Yeah, I will be filtering questions. And just by show of hands, hopefully I can see you, and we'll take them as such. So are there any questions from the committee? Co-Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to ask, what exactly are they asking for, given that they're only stating that it's going to be property that's going to be, they're going to develop 55 units of affordable housing, with the remainder 12 being market value. So what exactly is the request from us, from this body?
If I could just add, Alder, that a few weeks ago, I think a few weeks now, they submitted an application to the LISTA committee that oversees most of these applications that come in. We met on 2 occasions actually for these particular items on your agenda tonight. And based on that, they had requested, and Clay, please correct me if I'm wrong, they'd requested for those affordable units at 400, but the committee actually made a different recommendation that you have, I believe, in your packets this evening for the exact request. And Clay, if you could read that, because I don't have it.
Well, what we determined was that for the market rate units, the Tax Abatement Review Committee is making a recommendation that they pay market rate for the market rate units. And we are making a recommendation that, based upon the information that they presented in their package, including the cash flows. And let me back up here. My name is Clay Williams. I live at 249 Nealon Road in the Great Ward 17. And I'm a business officer with the Economic Development Office. I'm sorry.
Thank you, sir.
We made a recommendation that they pay market rate taxes for the market rate units. And we made a recommendation, we kind of upped what they originally wanted, to ask them to pay $400 a year for the affordable housing units. And based upon their cash flows, there would be a 3% increase in those affordable housing unit annual payments every year. This would be a 15-year abatement after a 2-year construction. Our recommendation also includes that they would pay market rate for the property up to the date that they receive their first building permit. The building permit then starts a 2-year, up to 2 years for the construction, and they would pay market rate for the properties at that point. It's only that once the project is done that they start to pay market rate for the market rate units and $400 a year for the affordable units, with a 3% increase of the affordable units every year afterwards. That is the LISTA Committee's recommendation.
Thank you for the clarification, Clay and Serena. Thank you both, because so I'm aware and I'm privy to this information. However, the joint committees are unaware. So I wanted to bring everyone up to speed by having the professional state exactly what the request is, which is the request of $400 per unit with an increase of annual per unit of 3% for the next 15 years. So I just wanted to bring everyone up to speed as to what exactly the LISTA has approved or recommended for this particular item. So thank you.
Co-chairs, LISTA is an acronym, unfortunately, for Low Income Supportive Housing Tax Abatement Committee. We're kind of known as the LISTA Committee, but you actually appointed us as the Tax Abatement Review Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I yield back. No more questions from my end. You're currently muted, Mr. Chair.
I believe I had Alder Douglas with his hand raised.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you. Thank you for the panel for answering those questions. And my question is, what is the rate on the market rate units? What are they to be paying? Give me some dollar figures, please.
Serena, can you help me? I'm not sure that we have a number on that. It's whatever the tax assessor is going to assess them at once they are done. I've seen numbers of $5,000 a year for some of these projects. I'm not quite sure what exactly going to be the actual market rate. We won't know that until the project is actually done.
That is correct. Alex Pullen actually sits on the LISTA committee with us, and we'll do that once the project is completed. You'll get the actual numbers based on the assessed value of the properties. So we don't usually talk about when we submit our recommendations, that number is usually withheld until the project is completed. But it will go on the city's annual tax assessment or 5-year tax assessment, whatever that is at the time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Are there any more questions from the committee? Go ahead, Co-Chair.
Mr. Chair, I did get an email, and I think it has something from the assessor's office, but I don't know if anybody from staff is here to talk about that. I don't know if Don is here to talk about that, because I can't see everyone on the screen.
Yeah, Don is here. He should unmute himself.
I'm not sure if he has the info.
Which one are you talking about?
We're talking about the first item for the joint.
Yeah, committee. I got that, but there's been a lot of things flying back and forth email wise.
I thought I saw an email from the assessor's office regarding the Dixwell Housing Associates LLC. And I'm not sure if that included the market value as per the question for Alder Douglas, given that there's going to be 12 units that are going to be at market value. I'm not sure if the assessor's office provided that info, but I thought I saw that, and I don't know if you had from the top of your head.
I haven't seen that information, and usually that's not done.
Okay.
Because until it's built and valued, they can't come up with a tax rate.
Gotcha. All right, so I might have just gotten something separate from the assessor's office. Thank you. Anyway, Mr. Chair, yield back.
Thank you. Any more questions from the committee? Alder Roth, and then we will have Alder Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to the presenters, both for presenting and I think your idea with how you're constructing this with the environmental approach you're taking is wonderful. I do have a few costs. I know in the packet that was submitted, which was, I appreciate it, there was a lot of detail in that packet. And there were some numbers about the estimated operating costs per year versus the estimated revenue per year. And it came out to a difference of about, I believe, 90,000 per year. And I'm not sure, based on the information we were just given about the change in the assessed amount that came out of the LISTA committee, if those numbers were based on the new amount that was created, or if that's old data, and if there's a different amount now. I guess I'm trying to figure out at the end of each year, based on the revenue this will be proposed to bring in and estimated operating expenses, or what will be what's the difference between those two numbers?
May I answer? Jeff Spiritos, 276 Riverside Drive, New York, New York, 10025. Alder Roth, we are compelled by CHFA, the Connecticut Housing Agency, to carry 3% increase in all of our categories of operating expenses. So this 3% increase on the abated rate for the affordable units is consistent with that.
Thank you. I'm realizing I did not phrase my question very clearly. That's my fault. I guess maybe my question is for Mr. Williams in a way, because it sounds like you said the LISTA committee changed what had been proposed. And I'm just trying to find out, in the packet we had received, it gave an estimate of operating costs and then revenue. And because it was a really big document, I can't easily pull it up now. I guess I'm just trying to figure out if the LISTA number that your committee came up with is what was in that packet, or if kind of now why you changed the number and what the difference is between operating expenses and the revenue that will be brought in with with the abatement.
Thank you, Alder Roth. I believe, and I don't have the packet in front of me here, but as I recall, when the original packet came in with the operating income and the operating expenses, I believe that they had one number for real estate taxes, where their assumption was that they were going to get a full abatement of all of those units. And I think it was something like $140 a unit. And we didn't think that that was necessarily sufficient for taxes. So we asked them to take a look at doing something in the $350 to $400 a unit. They revised the numbers and sent back the revised numbers showing that they were going to pay the $400 a unit. Again, I don't have the revised packet in front of me here. The packet was a Dropbox, and it was very difficult to kind of go like through it. But with the revised numbers, they met our request to take a look at that. I believe, did you get a copy of that, Serena?
I did not. I was out of the system when that information was passed
So
away.
they simply agreed to the $400 with a market rate on the taxes, and they sent a revised cash flow that shows that they're still going to meet the 1.2 debt service coverage. They shifted around some of the other type of expenses. So it is still a viable deal.
Right.
Great, I appreciate that. And I guess I know my colleagues have questions. Just one final question to follow up, Mr. Williams, on what you just said. I'm just curious, when you come up with the $400 figure, do you look at sort of other projects that we've done abatements for, or what's your analysis to come up with that figure?
When this committee was first formed back in 2018, we were kind of given guidelines about what this was all about, but we weren't given guidelines regarding what we ought to charge. And we've probably taken a look at 3 or 4 of these projects, Serena.
Yes.
One of them was 16 Miller Street was one of the ones that we kind of based a lot of our stuff on. And we just felt that the number of between 300 and 400, it is above what the Housing Authority pays. The Housing Authority kind of gets a special rate. And we just looked at the $400 with a 3% increase as being a reasonable amount that we should be getting as a minimum from our affordable housing projects.
And they also, the number, excuse me, Alder, I'm sorry. The number also is consistent with the fact that many of these projects are being done with public funding and are in competitive processes in order to get funded. And so we want to have a successful project. In order to do that, we don't want to over leverage them with funding that they will not be able to be successful at. So the number is in range, given the fact that they are seeking public subsidies to do the work.
Great, thanks. So it sounds like if you want to make it so that they'll be able to succeed, or else they're not going to get this funding from the state. Thank you.
Or survive as a project, which is something we don't want to have happen here in the city.
Right. We want them to survive as a project.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Alder Kimberly Edwards.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm not sure who my question is posed to be honest. But I see we're talking about the 316 Dixwell Avenue parcel, which, am I right, that is city owned?
That is correct, Alder.
Go ahead. My question is, what is the deal on that part of this transaction?
This is a joint submission. What we have done in terms of this development project is, as you all know, Beulah Land Development Corporation received an LDA from the city years ago on the 340 site. 316 is a building that is currently owned by the city that we're seeking to dispose of to this partnership for the development of 340, 316, and I think 783 as a part of the overall project. So the city's disposition of 316 has been a conversation that we've had for many, many years. We're submitting it tonight as a joint project for CD to look at in terms of our disposition and amending the existing LDA that Beulah Land Development Corporation currently has with the city for 340 to include 316 Dixwell Avenue. So it's a joint ask that we have before you tonight for the disposition of 316, as well as amending the existing LDA to include that, as well as the tax abatement for those affordable units.
So for clarification, I guess my question now is, what is the dollar amount on our joint 316 along with 340, whatever? I mean, what is the dollar amount we're expending, or I don't know the verbiage.
I'm going to get jammed up. So Olivia, jump in, please, because you may have the information and I don't. But they are paying the appraised value for the 316 property. It's not, we're not giving it away. I don't have it in front of me, but it is, they are paying the cost of the appraised value for the 316 property.
It's 280,000.
Thank you, Olivia.
Thank you. You're welcome. I have no further questions at the moment. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Are there any more questions around that particular question? I will ask that again from colleagues. Are there any more questions around that particular question? Now that we know it's 280,000. Okay. I see Alder Jody Ortiz. Any more questions? Okay. Okay, well, if there's no more questions from the committee, at this time, I will ask if there's anyone from the public like to speak to this particular item.
No one has their hand raised, Mr. Chair.
I see Alder Winter have his hand raised. Go ahead, Alder Winter.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just like to take a moment of the committee's time. Thank you so much for hearing this item tonight, to just express how unique and excellent I think this project is. Not only is it mostly affordable housing, but it will be environmentally friendly. We'll have folks who are going to be paying less rent, but also less in utilities because of the green design. And it's a design that'll be a really healthy environment for indoor air quality as we think about asthma and other respiratory issues in the inner city. And then Daryl and Jeff and the team have just done an excellent job with community engagement over the last 3 years. They have been everywhere talking to folks about this project, and it has really strong support in the community. So, just like Beulah has done an incredible job investing in and building up the community with their housing projects, they've also done an excellent job reaching out to folks and bringing them in and making them aware and getting feedback about this project. So I would just urge the committee to support. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Alder Winters. You got to save that for deliberations, but we'll talk about that next time. Alder Kimberly Edwards have her hand up.
I just have one question. I may have missed it. What if this project is approved? What are the guesstimates or estimated start and completion dates?
May I?
Yes, you may.
Jeff Spiritos.
No, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do it. You do it one time for the record, and we have you. Okay, have you on the record.
I got it. Thank you very much.
Just feel free to respond.
Thank you very much. So, Alder Edwards, the application for these Connecticut Housing Finance Authority financing will be submitted on November 12th, which is the deadline for 9% tax credits. We are hopeful that we will be selected by the Connecticut Housing Finance Authority. And typically, if we are, we will find out about that next March or April. If we are selected, then we take next summer and early fall to close on our financing and would start construction next fall and would take 15 months to build and complete before the end of 2022.
Thank you. I think that's all I have right now. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I don't know if Alder Steve Winters have his hand raised again or he left it up from the last question.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chair. I wanted to note, because of the CHAFA deadline, in order for this to be approved by the board, I believe it would need a discharge in order for it to be voted on before the November 12th CHAFA deadline.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. Yep, we most definitely are aware about that. But we doing our due diligence to hear and filter questions so we can get this right and let the public have its opinion of what should be and what shouldn't be. So that's why we're doing what we're doing tonight. Are there any more questions from the committee? Thank you, Alder Winters. Seeing no more questions from the committee, are you good, Alder Kimberly Edwards, before I go to the public portion? Okay, thank you so much. Go ahead, Co-Chair.
Yeah, why don't we just go ahead to the second item and then have the speakers speak on that item, and then we can just bring the public to speak on either item at the end, and then we can just do it that way.
I appreciate you. Let's do it that way. So Serena, would you like to start speaking to the second item, or someone else going to speak to the second item?
I can, Olivia shook her head, so I'm going to go for it. The second item is and I'm probably going to mess up the names, R&J Development LLC is seeking to acquire the property known as Ashman and Canal for the city of New Haven, formerly known as the Pork Chop. It is a parcel of land that was originally allocated to the Elm Haven Rise housing development that was then taken back by the city and then forwarded over to Science Park in the city. We did a RFP about 2.5 years ago, maybe 3 now. We got several responses. It was awarded to another developer who then had to back out, and we reissued it, and R&J came in with the winning proposal. They are proposing here 150 units of housing, rental housing. 50 of those units will be affordable in a income stack that is pretty precedent here in New Haven in terms of the work that Alder Jeanette Morrison, Yves Joseph, and his partners put together along with the city. We are seeking to serve those folks from 80% down to under 80% down to 50% and below for project-based vouchers. So this is a pretty aggressive and a really cutting edge kind of development that we've been trying to get done here in the city around affordable housing. We're very excited about this one because it's been sitting again, as well as the others that are before you tonight. But this one is one that we've been working on for several years with several different partners, including getting the land from the state as well as from Science Park in order to move forward on this one. Their request before you tonight is to move forward with a DLDA that memorializes all of what I've said in a very legal way, as well as seeking an abatement on the affordable units that will be included as a part of this development project for a total of 50 units of the 150. I don't have, and I hope Clay is still here. Yes, Clay is on to give you the breakdown that the Lister Committee made in terms of its recommendations. But for all intent and purposes, the project is one that we've been fighting for some time. And Yves Joseph, I see him here, is on the call. He is one of the developers. Yves, if you want to say something, you can.
Before he, 1 second, sir. Before he jump in, by all means, Olivia, I apologize if I cut you off. You was about to speak to the item. Please add, please.
She's pretty much summed up the project.
Okay, but my apologies. I didn't know you was gonna speak to an item. My apologies.
It's okay.
If Joseph going to speak to this particular item, he has to state his name and address for the record.
Understood. Yves Joseph, managing principal of RJ Development, address 555 Long Wharf Drive, 11th floor, New Haven, Connecticut. I am also personally a 10-year former resident of New Haven, living on Quinnipiac Avenue in Fairhaven Heights. Pleased to be with you. I don't have much to ask or much to add, in addition to what Serena has laid out. The one thing I will say is that when we responded to the RFP, it was a key piece of our proposal to not require any subsidies in this project, specifically meaning we are not appealing for tax credits from the state or the federal government. We are not appealing for any direct subsidy from the state via just-in-time or via any other grant proceeds that typically support these projects. Serena mentioned it as precedent setting. And I think the real interesting aspect of this project is its ability to provide the depth and the quantity of affordability that it does contemplate. 1/3 fully of the units, 50 out of 150, will be below market rate. And what directly allows us to deliver that quantity of units at that depth of affordability is the tax agreement that's contemplated here. So I definitely thank you for the consideration. We are very enthusiastic about delivering this truly mixed income project to Dixwell New Hallville. We're very proud to set that precedent and be one of the first to pioneer and deliver a project like this in New Haven. With that, I will answer any questions, Serena, or from the alders.
Thank you. On this second item from the committee, are there any questions for Joseph or anyone? I see Alder Roth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you for the remarks that you all have given and for proposing this project, I have a few questions, and maybe Mr. Williams, I don't know if the LISTA committee has changed what was in our packet for this project, so I just want to see if what I have is a 20-year abatement for $400 for the affordable units. I guess I'm curious if that's still what is proposed.
Fortunately, we can't do a 20-year abatement. We can do a 15-year. We did recommend the $400 a unit for this project for the 50 affordable units here, market rate for the other 100 units. This is somewhat different. Our recommendation is that we are recommending that the $400 a unit remain in place for 5 years with a 3% increase, annual increase after that. One of the reasons why we recommended this is because this doesn't require any public subsidy. They are doing this strictly like we used to do in my old days in like the banking world with debt and equity. And you don't usually see a lot of equity going into some of these affordable housing pieces. They usually always rely upon some sort of like a subsidy. So we decided to give this project a break, allow it to kind of rent up and charge them $400 a unit for the first 5 years on the affordable units with a 3% annual increase after that. They'll pay market rate for the market rate units. As with the Dixwell Avenue property, they'll pay market rate for the property while they own it up until when they get a building permit, and they'll pay market rate for up to 2 years after that during the construction. And then the $400 a unit for the affordable units kicks in. That is the LISTA committee recommendation.
Thank you. I guess the public subsidy is the tax abatement in a way. I guess I have two other questions. One, I just want to make sure I'm correct on the affordability numbers. It sounds like of those 50, 25 of them are at 80% AMI or less, 15 at 60% AMI or less, and then 10 are for Section 8.
Public vouchers, yes.
And then I guess my final question, in the documents we were given, in terms of sort of the financials of the operational costs of this project, it said, and maybe there were a lot of papers, so it may have been spelled out somewhere more explicitly, but the page I saw, I think it's page 79 of the packet, it said it's confidential and proprietary, but that an abatement is needed. And so, like for me reading that, it's very hard to sort of, without knowing like what the operational costs are, to just be told it's needed without seeing what the operational costs are when there are 100 units that are market rate. So I don't know if a little more information can be shared about the operational costs and why sort of the 100 units and even the 25 that are at 80% don't help cover more of the costs.
Do you want to speak to the proprietary part of that? We were able to secure complete financials when we received the response to the RFP. So we did get a look at the operating costs in a separate packet when we were making our determination on this. And based on the numbers that we recommended through LISTA, the 5-year grace period, for, if you want to call it that, is one of the reasons why we offered that for this particular project, to give them that abatement in the first 5, to get them up and moving in terms of some kind of operating that could help them. So, but if Yves, you want to talk about any additional operating costs that you're going to receive, to be seeing.
Sure, yeah, and we can kind of have a conversation around the project economics. I understand that would be kind of a point of emphasis and an interest. We did convene several meetings with Serena and the city staff over the last several years as we were negotiating, this project and, the structure of the DLDA. We do in our firm consider, detailed financial underwriting to be kind of confidential and proprietary work product. We are very concerned about, those kind of documents becoming, widely distributed. And so we try to kind of share those in a protected manner. And so we would certainly be able to do that. But again, we can certainly have a conversation around, the need. Mr. Williams articulated our capital structure, our proposed capital structure of debt and equity. And we are proposing to capitalize or fund this project with a traditional debt and equity capital structure, no tax credits, no, again, state grants, et cetera. And Alder Rock, you are correct. The tax abatement is accurately characterized as a form of subsidy. So I do kind of receive and acknowledge and appreciate, your commentary there. But, when you are underwriting these projects, there's this thing called, this concept of supportable debt and supportable equity. How much income is coming in from the rents received in the project, and how much debt can that support through debt service, and how much equity can that support through, being able to convince people to invest in your project. When we look at this project, we show a gap between supportable debt and equity and the cost of the project approaching $2 million, meaning the project costs almost $2 million more to complete than the debt and equity you can support in a traditional market environment. And so we, as the owner, as the investors, are going to bridge that gap by reducing our fees and investing our own capital at less than market returns. So we are, in effect, directly subsidizing the project in an effort to move this initiative forward and achieve mixed income development in a community that is a priority to us. We can, Alder Rock, demonstrate that to you and demonstrate that gap, and I'd be happy to meet and walk through the mechanics of that.
Thank you.
Alder Roth, are you all set?
I'll defer to any of my colleagues who have questions. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, are there any more colleagues have any questions? Alder Saldicola.
Thank you, Chair. The question I have is, these are great projects, and I'm not looking to say they shouldn't go forward. My concern is projects have been started, developers have come in, and then they turn around and sell. If they turn around and sell, I feel the city has to be at the table, because we're giving the tax abatement, that we have to be at this table if they're going to sell, because we are giving this subsidy. We need to be there, and then I don't want the developers to sell the subsidy and walk away with a profit, and we're left with the bag. I really feel that we should have an amendment in both these projects. If they turn out to sell, we, the city, have to be at that table before the sale happens to see if we're going to give this a subsidy to the new buyer, because we're the ones giving this money up. It's our taxpayers' money. And developers have walked away on us and sold the projects. And both these projects are great, but I'm not having somebody walk away with a profit and then we're stuck with the bag. There's got to be a clause in there that we, the city, have to come into this before the sale happens and make sure that we're willing to give the new buyer, owner, this subsidy. That's all I'm putting on the table. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We will discuss that in the deliberations. Are there any more questions? Alder Kimberly Edwards.
Thank you. I had a question about how much was this land sold for that you're going to build upon?
The cost of the land that is currently in the LDA is $500,000.
Okay, so I did read that properly.
Yes, ma'am.
So we're going to get $500,000 for that land.
Yes.
And I don't know if this question is for the right meeting, so please guide me, Mr. Chair. The area in which you're building, have you spoken to the community and the neighbors? Because that is a crazy area where they're building. You got 201 Munson Street or whatever it's called now across the street.
Yeah. Yeah.
Traffic over there is horrendous as it is.
Yeah.
I mean, is this the right question for this at this time? With that,
it is the right question.
It is the right question.
It is a problem area. I ride through there every day. Sure. It's going to affect Science Park. It's going to affect Winchester, Munson, all the side residential streets. Even though it's a residential project, That is a crazy area, especially with construction things going on there as well. So I have a lot of concerns about that, and just the amount of buildings that are going up in units on both sides of the street.
Right. One of the things that has happened in terms of this project, Alder, is Alder Morrison convened 3 community meetings specifically to talk about the Ashman and Canal site, as well as 2-on-1 Munchin. And this was presented to the community at several different occasions. Clearly, they had some of the same concerns that you have around traffic and traffic studies for that site, for that area. And all of that was expressed. The developers have taken that into consideration as they seek to build, particularly during construction for this one. It may be a bit of a challenge, but clearly they will have to get signed off on in terms of their site reviews through city plan and the traffic department. But yes, this has been submitted to the community several times. Alder Winter was at most of those meetings, and the community management team in support of this. I mean, we've had, it's like I said, it's going back almost 2.5 years in terms of trying to get this thing started. With all of the starts and stops that we've had, it's been able to move forward, and folks have embraced it with all the new development that's happening there. It's just the beginning. In terms of 201, in terms of Beulah's project, I mean, it's going to be a very big revitalization coming on over the next few years.
Thank you. And my concern is they're all in the same area. All of these, there's 3 major projects in the same area. And I also, Mr. Chair, although you said we will address it later, I am in total agreement with Alder DeCola.
Yeah, we will this as we move forward through this meeting, we will get there.
Okay, so we'll get there.
Yeah, we will get there.
Can I just say, just in terms of response to your, because of the way these projects are designed to come online, there will be some staggered movement in terms of when they start building. So if Ashman and Canal goes first, conceivably Beulah will come second, and then down the road, we propose that 201 and maybe additional building in Science Park will happen. But it is kind of staggered at this point in terms of how the developments will come online. And just to follow up in terms of Alder DeCola's statement, one of the things that we've been doing in the DLDAs moving forward is putting in language that outlines specifically what he just said. This is not an opportunity to sell off a tax abatement to another developer. And we're including that language in the new DLDAs that are coming out of Corp Council. So just wanted to let you guys know that we were looking at that as well.
And one of my last questions would be, which let me know if you can answer or not, do we have guesstimates as far as how much revenue we may receive as a city as far as permits and license and things are concerned? Do we have any like guesstimates on those things?
Yes, ma'am. Those are all done in terms of the controller's office and finance. We project this stuff each year that comes before you in terms of a budget. So yes, the revenue that is generated through these projects will be included in the general fund budget, as well as the permit fees that Mr. Tercio does with his permitting as well. So yes, they are projected.
Thank you. I have no further questions at this time.
Daryl has a question.
Daryl, go ahead.
I don't necessarily have a question. I do want to reaffirm and to assure the alders that Beulah Land Development Corporation is a community-based organization, meaning we are based out of, we are going to be, as we were birthed in Dixwell, we're going to be in Dixwell for many, many, many years to come. And so we will not be one of those developers who will sell off its development to another developer as we were established as a community-based organization. So I just wanted to make sure that that is understood.
Thank you so much. I see Alder Carmen. Go ahead, Alder.
So I thank you for saying that, Mr. Brooks. Let this be the beginning of how, because I too am glad that Alder DeCola made that comment because it is a concern, and we appreciate him doing that. Let you all be the example that is going to show developers that are coming into our city how important it is that you guys are getting tax abatements and wanting to revitalize the city and not move it forward to other developers, not flip it. So we greatly appreciate you saying that, and set the bar high. So when other folks come, we will definitely say, let's let you know what's going on in the city because someone's already done it. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you. It looked like Joseph wants to respond.
Yeah, I'd just like to echo Mr. Brooks' comment and applaud it, but also to raise, that our entity, RJDA Ashman LLC, the presumptive buyer of this property and developer of this property is an opportunity zone investor, and so which we control. And so by virtue of that, what that means simply is that it is a long-term investment. We intend to build and own and operate this project for a long time. We are not a short-term player here to flip or sell off to another developer. And so I just wanted to kind of clearly state our intentions and our business plan. And I would also just like to emphasize that 2/3 of the project will pay full taxes with no relief. All of the market units will pay full taxes. Today, it is a vacant lot generating no taxes to the city of New Haven. So when we are done completing our efforts, which we already have 3 or 4 years into this project, and we'll have another 2 before it opens, we will take a non-tax contributing piece of property and real estate to the city of New Haven and turn it into a significant contributor to the city of New Haven tax rolls.
Thank you. Greatly appreciate it. I don't know if anyone else from your team would like to speak. We have a newcomer in the room. I don't know if you want to speak to any of this, to any of these items. That's my grandson in the back, Pop. Are there any more questions from the committee on these particular items? Alder DeCola.
Is this another time sensitive item two?
We'd like to move it to board so that they can get started in terms of their funding. So, yeah.
So we're looking that we need to vote on this on November 5th. That's okay. I just want to make sure that both items are on the time schedule. That's all. Thank you so much.
Okay. If we have no more questions from the committee, I will go to public testimony. We move items or both together. So if there's anyone going to speak to, they can speak to both items. I can't see that right now. So I will ask Mr. Lucas, are there any questions from the public?
At this time, no one has their hand raised, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so I will ask again, and this is the second time. Is there anyone from the public like to speak to these particular items? Going for a third time. Is there anyone from the public like to speak on these particular items? I will entertain a motion.
I move to close the public section.
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Then I move to adjourn.
No.
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 Sorry.
No. We have to discuss the 2 items that's before us before we adjourn.
Right.
Yes, we have to discuss the 2 items. Like the committee have to discuss the 2 items before we adjourn, sir. So let's go item by item, or we can do both items together. Co-chair,
Mr. Chair, I'll move item 1.
Second.
This will be for Dixwell Housing.
Yes. Discussion.
I think it's a wonderful project. I mean, I do understand that it's time sensitive, but I also understand Alder DeCola's concern, which is extremely important that we're not left with, without a chair once the music stops. So I certainly think that if the precautionary measures were taken by the city in order to be able to find some sort of language that can let these developers understand that they can't just leave, then I would move that we approve this item, that we discharge it favorably.
So co-chair, I it's good that we have these kind of conversations, and anybody, we in discussion right now, so anybody want to jump in can jump in from the committee, but I think it's good that Serena cleared that up. I think before the November 5th deadline that we see that, right, that we obtain that kind of language, right? I will ask Don, or I will ask Nikki, and I will ask the acting and the former LCI director to get that information to us. So before we do a final reading, we everyone is on the same page.
So
That's what.
Mr. Chair, if I may, should we table these items for now?
No. We should not table these items. We should move the items as is. Okay. What we are doing is basically just get some clarification before we get to the floor and have to make an amendment. We hoping and basically saying that it's already in there from the general counsel that these folks can't just get up and leave. And I know where Pastor Brooks live, so I'm not really worried about that. Okay, I'm just gonna make that very clear. Okay, I know what Stevenson Street is. Okay, so now the other gentleman I don't know quite well. So what we should do is, I see you sing. I see you sing. So what we should do is get that information before, and we'll take it as such. Sing. Go ahead. All to sing.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Vice Chair, and thank you, Serena, for clearing up that, because since Friday I read this information. I was doing simple math: 4,050 units, 20,000 a year, and I start to wrap it around my head. And I'm supporters of these projects, especially affordable housing projects. But again, some language should be in there, because Serena go back that, when the city was doing residential, they give a grant of 30,000. If somebody sell, from year 1 to year 2 was forgivable, and then they had to, pay that back. And I think the same should apply for everybody else going forward. The residents shouldn't be holding the bag, and I support my colleagues on this very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair and Mr. Co-Chair.
Thank you. So if it's no more, mute. You're on mute.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I apologize, but I just wanted to, I've been made aware that Madam President has joined us, but I don't see her here, but I wanted to acknowledge her through the chair.
Okay. Abby Roth has her hand raised. Thank you. Thank you, Madam President, for being on. Alder Roth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I wasn't sure if we're speaking to both items or the first item.
The first item, that's how he moved it. We speaking to the first item.
Great, thank you. Yeah, I think as I thought Alder Winter said very well, that kind of both the fact that there's a lot of community support for this, that it has both environmentally is such a strong project, and that lowers utility costs. I appreciate that it's a deeply affordable project, and that sort of the abatement really is necessary to enable it to actually to be sustainable. And I guess I do just want to say, I mean, one thing, we now have had a number of these abatements over the past few, or abatement requests over the past few years come to us. And based on what Mr. Williams said, it does seem like we as a board should think about more standards, because it is hard to look at these as one and kind of apples to oranges and think through what is the appropriate amount. So that's just a comment I think is important to make as we move forward. Going forward. So, but I think this is an outstanding project. Thank you.
Thank you so much. If there's no more discussion on item, go ahead.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead, sir.
I believe 316 Dixwell has to be added to the LDA for the project.
Just say that again, sir.
316 Dixwell, as I understand it, is not in the current LDA and needs to be added to it. So kind of get the committee to say, yes, add it to it.
So, Mr. Chair, I guess with my motion, and I think I would ask for what Donald was saying, which is to add 316 to the LDA as part of the land disposition agreement, correct?
Yes.
Do I get a second?
Second.
Thank you.
All's in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, so on the Dixwell Avenue project, I'll make a motion to move that. All's in favor?
I second that.
Yes. All's in favor?
Aye.
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 Back up, Mr. Chair. If you're discharging the item, you don't need to take any action at this time.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yeah, because it's being discharged.
Yes, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. There's a lot going on here. Now we move into the second item.
Mr. Chair, move item 2.
Is there a second?
Second.
All's in favor? Oh, no, excuse me,
Aye.
discussion.
Oh.
Discussion on item 2.
I think that Alder Roth had something for this particular item, but I believe that the same necessary language needs to be captured for this item as well in order for us to move forward. So we should definitely have some language in the future before we're able to go ahead and approve it as a board. That's it for me, Mr. Chair.
Aye. Mr. Chair.
All the same.
I just, not to repeat myself, but the same language that I spoke on to go into the second project again. So, thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to say the same thing I said before, except that I don't know where the young man lives. I would say that I, will get the information from the former and active LCI director in reference to them having, language in there saying that they're not going to sell us off, that kind of thing, and, move forward with it before November 5th. Hopefully we can get that. We can see that and hold them accountable to those actions and move forward. I mean, I think both of the projects are wonderful projects. These projects are something that we've been standing on about affordable housing and getting money for the tax rolls. This is what it's about. And these are, folks that have been in the city and I believe care about the city of New Haven and the people in the city of New Haven. So this is something that I found favorable. This is something that I think we should move forward. So we can, come to 2020, right? Get out of 2020 on a good note about affordable housing with the crisis and, Corona and the homelessness and stuff right now that we're dealing with. Just imagine, 100 years from now, if all these projects work right and the pandemic come again, we have we have a place for folks to live affordably. So hopefully, you know, we can move this stuff. All the same.
Final statement, Mr. Chair, and in the language, I mean, my colleagues could, you know, support me here if they think, if this project had happened to change hands and a profit has been made, for example, within 5 years, is there that the city should recoup some of those dollars that they've been, you know, abated to those to the project?
I would say we should look at the language that's going to come before us. And if we think that we need to have something stronger, we will amend or not move it forward by November 5th. That's my suggestion in reference to that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. We have the point I'm trying to make is we have time. So Alder Roth.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just two comments. I obviously appreciate this project and all the effort that's gone into it. I do think that this board should see the financials behind it before you know, the city saw them before coming up with the number for the tax abatement. I think we have a responsibility as the people voting on this to also see that. I also do, while I appreciate that there's no state subsidies for this, frankly, the state can handle the public subsidy better than our city, where over half of our property is tax exempt, where we have so much more affordable housing than other municipalities. I'm proud that we do, but when the state helps pay for something, at least that's spreading some of the burden to our other neighboring towns who do not step up enough to help. So I do have, while I applaud the developer for sort of making this effort, I do have concerns with that the subsidy is falling just on the taxpayers of New Haven. And I do worry about those taxpayers who then their own housing is at risk of becoming unaffordable if their taxes rise. So I just felt I needed to say that. Thank you.
Okay, I don't know if there's any more to be said. I take a motion to move this to the floor. Chair?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, you don't need any action if you're gonna discharge the.
Yes, we're gonna discharge the item.
So you don't need to take any action.
Then I move to adjourn.
Second.
All's in favor?
Aye.
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 And we don't go anywhere. We got Beacon coming up.
Say it again, sir.
Serena and Olivia don't go anywhere. We got Beacon coming up.
Okay. Well, thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you all very much.
Thank you so much. Yes.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you, committee. Thank you very much.
Nice meeting you, Olivia.
Thank you.
Your show, Alder Crespo.
Thank you, Mr. Lucas.
For a second.